The Los Angeles sun had barely risen when the phone rang. Sylvester Stallone, still drowsy, answered in his characteristic hoarse voice. The news on the other end of the line hit him like a punch in the gut. Carl Weathers, his former on-screen partner, was battling his own demons. Life is not about how many blows you can throw, but about how many you can take and keep fighting. The words Stallone had written to Rocky echoed in his mind as he hurriedly dressed. Carl needed him now, and Sly wasn't going to leave him on the canvas. Driving through the city streets, Stallone reflected on Rocky's golden years. Carl, like Apollo Creed, had been more than an opponent in the ring. He had been a partner, a friend. Now the fight was real, and the enemy was invisible. Arriving at Carl's modest apartment, Sly hesitated for a moment. What would you find on the other side of that door? He took a deep breath and knocked. Yo, Adrian. I mean, Carl. It's me, Sly. Silence. Then, shuffling steps. Hey, you there? Yes, you are following this story. You know, just like Rocky needed his fans' support, we need yours too. How about joining us on this journey? It costs nothing, and it makes all the difference. The door opened, revealing an unrecognizable Carl Weathers. Deep-set eyes, unshaven beard, rumpled clothes. Stallone swallowed hard. Carl, my friend, I came to help you get back into the ring of life. Sly? What are you doing here? Carl muttered, his voice choked with alcohol and surprise. Stallone entered, determined. I'm here to train you, partner. Just like the old times, only now, the fight is real. The apartment was a reflection of Carl's state, chaotic, dark, abandoned. Empty bottles decorated every surface like macabre trophies from lost battles. Stallone felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Remember what I always said? It's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Sly said, looking into his friend's eyes. It's time to move on, Carl. In the days that followed, Stallone dove headfirst into the mission to rescue Carl. He cleaned the apartment, threw away all the bottles, and established a strict routine. We're going to train your body and your mind, like we did for the movies. Carl, initially reluctant, began to respond to treatment. Mornings were filled with physical exercise, afternoons with therapy, and nights with long conversations about old times and dreams for the future. You know, Carl, Stallone said one night, when I wrote Rocky, it was about a guy who got a chance to prove himself. Now, you have that chance. Don't waste it. Weeks passed, and Carl's transformation was remarkable. The shine returned to his eyes, his muscles began to define themselves again. But the battle with addiction was constant, a daily fight against a relentless opponent. At a particularly difficult moment, when the temptation of alcohol seemed unbearable, Stallone grabbed Carl's shoulders and said, Remember, every champion was once a challenger who refused to give up. The journey was far from over, but something had changed. A spark of hope, a glimpse of the old Carl Weathers, was beginning to emerge. Stallone knew the fight would be long, but he was prepared. After all, as he himself had said so many times, life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, it's about learning to dance in the rain. As the days turned into weeks, Stallone and Carl fell into an almost military routine. Mornings began with sunrise runs, reminiscent of the iconic scenes from Rocky on Santa Monica Beach. There's no easy shortcut to anywhere worth going, Sly repeated, as Carl struggled to keep up with his pace. Afternoons were dedicated to therapy and rehabilitation. Carl faced his inner demons with the same determination he once displayed in the ring as Apollo Creed. Stallone watched, proud but aware that the battle was far from over. You know, Carl, Sly commented during a particularly intense session, when we played rivals, we had no idea that one day we'd be fighting side by side in real life. Carl nodded, sweat dripping down his face, a faint smile forming on his lips. As Carl grew stronger, Stallone intensified his training. Punching bags were installed in the apartment, and the sound of punches echoed off the walls. Hit like you're knocking out your problems, Sly shouted, channeling his Rocky character. There were relapses, of course. Moments when the call of the bottle was almost irresistible. One particularly difficult night, Stallone found Carl staring at a bottle of whiskey. Hey, "Champ," he said softly, "remember what I always say. The world isn't a bed of roses. It's a dirty place, a cruel place, that doesn't care how tough you are. It will bring you to your knees, and you'll stay on your knees forever if you let it." The words seemed to awaken something in Carl. With a sudden gesture, he poured the contents of the bottle into the sink. "I'm not going down on my knees, Sly. Not this time." As Carl's physical condition improved, Stallone decided it was time to reintroduce him to the outside world. Together, they began visiting local boxing gyms where Carl could train and reconnect with the boxing community. It was during one of these visits that something unexpected happened. A young boxer recognized Carl and asked for his autograph. "You're Apollo Creed. Dude, you were my inspiration to start fighting." Carl's face lit up in a way Stallone hadn't seen in years. Inspired by this encounter, Stallone had an idea. "What if we used your journey to inspire others, Carl? We could start a program to help former athletes struggling with addiction." Carl hesitated for a moment, then nodded slowly. Maybe this could be my new purpose." With renewed vigor, they began to plan. Stallone used his contacts in the entertainment industry to gain support, while Carl began writing about his experiences. "We're writing a new script, buddy," Sly joked, "but this time, it's for real life." The weeks turned into months, and Carl's transformation was remarkable. Not just physically, but his attitude, his confidence, everything had changed. He was back in the ring of life, fighting not just for himself, but for everyone facing similar battles. The program they created, Comeback Champions, began to gain traction. Former athletes from various sports sought help, inspired by Carl's story of redemption. Stallone watched with pride as his friend guided others through their own struggles. "You know, Sly," Carl said one day as they attended a recovery group, "I never thought I'd say this, but thanks for not giving up on me. You really are the best friend a guy could have." Stallone smiled, patting Carl on the back. "Hey, that's what we do, isn't it? We get up when we fall. Like I always say, every champion was once a challenger who refused to give up." As the sun set over Los Angeles, casting a golden glow over the city, Stallone and Carl found themselves on the beach, exactly where they had filmed iconic scenes all those years ago. Looking toward the horizon, they both knew that this was not just a story of personal redemption, but the beginning of something much bigger. The success of the Comeback Champions program did not go unnoticed by the media. Soon, reporters began circulating, eager to cover Carl Weathers' redemption story and Sylvester Stallone's role in it. Sly, always on the lookout for opportunities, saw this as a chance to amplify his message. "Look, Carl," Stallone said one day, his deep voice thick with determination, "remember when I said success is usually for those who are too busy to look for it? Well, I guess success has found us. Let's use that." Reluctant at first, Carl eventually agreed to do some interviews. The first was difficult. Exposing his weaknesses publicly went against everything he had learned as an actor and athlete. But Stallone's words echoed in his mind, "All the knowledge I have is what I learned after I knew I already knew everything." As the interviews multiplied, something unexpected began to happen. Carl wasn't just telling his story, he was healing through her. Each account of their journey seemed to strengthen their resolve, each word of gratitude to Stallone further cemented their friendship. Meanwhile, Stallone worked tirelessly behind the scenes. He contacted old friends in the industry, raised funds, and expanded the reach of Comeback Champions. "You know, Carl," he said during a particularly stressful meeting, "sometimes the hardest blows in life are the ones that lift us up." The program began to attract the attention of prominent sports and entertainment figures. Former boxing champions, recovering actors, and even politicians began volunteering for speaking engagements and mentoring sessions. Carl, once so lost, now saw himself as a beacon of hope for others. One day, while watching a session of the program, Stallone noticed something different about Carl. His friend radiated a confidence he hadn't seen in years. "Hey, Apollo," joked Sly, using his old character name, "looks like you're ready for a few more rounds." Carl laughed, a genuine sound that warmed Stallone's heart. "You know what, Rocky? I think I am. But this time, we're fighting on the same side of the ring." It was then that Stallone had a bold idea. "What if we made a movie, Carl? Not a Rocky or an Apollo, but something new. A story about second chances, about getting up when life knocks you down. Carl's eyes widened at the suggestion. Do you think we're ready for this, Sly? Back to the screen after all this? Stallone smiled, that crooked smile that had become his trademark. Carl, my friend, we are born ready. As I always say, it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep going. The film development process became a therapeutic extension for both of them. Nights were spent discussing the script, refining dialogues, always taking care to keep the story authentic and inspiring. During one of these writing sessions, Carl paused, looking thoughtfully at Stallone. You know, Sly, when you showed up on my doorstep months ago, I thought it was the end. But it was just the beginning of something much bigger. Stallone nodded, moved. That's how it works, partner. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass, it's about learning to dance in the rain. And we, my friend, are dancing a real choreography. As the film project took shape, just as comeback champions continued to grow, Stallone and Carl found themselves at the center of a movement that went far beyond themselves. It wasn't just about personal redemption now, it was about showing the world that there's always a chance to start over, no matter how dark the path may seem. The announcement of Stallone and Weathers' new film caused a frenzy in Hollywood. Studios went into a bidding war, all wanting to be a part of this project that promised to be more than just entertainment, it was a message of hope. It's like I always say, Stallone commented during a meeting with executives, it's not about how much money you make, it's the impact you have. Carl, sitting next to her, nodded in silent agreement. Pre-production began at a frantic pace. Stallone, true to form, insisted on doing most of his own stunts, even in his early 70s. Age is a state of mind, he joked to the team, and my spirit still thinks it's 30. Carl, in turn, faced his own challenges. Returning to film sets brought back memories of his drinking days. But now, with Stallone by his side, he's found the strength to turn those memories into fuel for his acting. During a particularly intense scene, where Carl's character faced his addiction, emotions boiled over. Stallone, watching from the sidelines, saw his friend delve deeply into his own experiences. When the director shouted cut, there wasn't a dry eye on the set. That, my friend, Stallone said, hugging Carl, is what we call using pain as power. You just knocked us all out. As filming progressed, comeback champions continued to blossom. Carl, balancing his time between the set and the show, found a new passion in mentoring young actors struggling with addictions. You know, Sly, Carl commented one day between filming, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm grateful I went through all that. It made me who I am today. Stallone smiled, that characteristic crooked smile. It's like I always say, Carl. It's not about how many times you fall, but how many times you get up. The film, titled Second Rounds, started gaining buzz even before its completion. Critics who had access to advanced screenings spoke of an emotional masterpiece and performances of a lifetime. But not everything was rosy. As the release date approached, the pressure increased. Carl, in a moment of weakness, found himself staring at a liquor store window for a long time. It was Stallone who found him there, standing on the sidewalk, fighting a silent battle. Without saying a word, Sly placed a hand on his friend's shoulder and gently guided him away. Remember what Apollo would say. There's no pain in this game, Stallone muttered. The incident served as a powerful reminder for both of them. The fight against addiction never really ends, it is a continuous journey of self-knowledge and willpower. On the opening night of Second Rounds, the red carpet was star-studded, but all eyes were on Stallone and Weathers. The two friends, dressed in impeccable tuxedos, walked side by side, living symbols of the film's message. When the final credits rolled and the theater lights came up, there was a moment of stunned silence before the audience erupted in applause. Stallone and Carl hugged, tears in both their eyes. The success of Segundo's Rounds was immediate and overwhelming. Critics called it a triumph of the human spirit as audiences packed movie theaters, many returning for multiple viewings. Stallone and Weathers found themselves at the center of a cultural phenomenon that went beyond entertainment. You know, Carl, Stallone said during a post-premiere interview, when I started this journey to help you, I never imagined we'd be here. Like I always say, life is about creating yourself, not finding yourself. The film's impact extended far beyond Hollywood. Rehabilitation centers have reported an increase in searches for treatment, citing the film as inspiration. Comeback Champions expanded to multiple cities, with Carl and Stallone traveling to open new locations. On one of these trips, they visited a rehabilitation center for veterans. The gratitude in the former soldiers' eyes as they saw Rambo and Apollo Creed in the flesh was palpable. "You fought for us on screen," said one veteran, "now you're fighting for us in real life." The moment touched Stallone deeply. "Remember when I said that heroes are born, they're created?" he muttered to Carl. "I think I finally understand what that really means." With success also came temptation. Offers for sequels, spin-offs, and merchandising flooded his agents. But Stallone and Carl remained steadfast in their vision. "It's not about making money," Stallone declared at a press conference, "it's about making a difference." A year after the film's release, Carl celebrated his sobriety anniversary with an intimate party. Surrounded by friends, family, and some of his Comeback Champions mates, he gave an emotional speech. "Every day is a struggle," he admitted, "but with friends like Sly, every day is also a victory." Stallone, in turn, found a new passion in directing. He began working on a documentary about the Comeback Champions' success stories. "It's time to pass the baton," he explained to Carl, "to show that everyone can be the hero of their own story." The documentary, titled Resurgendo, premiered at film festivals around the world, winning critical acclaim and awards. Most importantly, it inspired a new wave of support and rehabilitation programs. On a quiet night, Stallone and Carl found themselves on the porch of Sly's house, looking out at the lights of Los Angeles. "You know," Carl began, "when you showed up on my doorstep that day, I was ready to give up. You didn't just save my life, Sly. You gave me a new purpose." Stallone smiled, that crooked smile that had become his trademark. "Hey, that's what we do, isn't it? We get up when we fall. Like I always say, the world is not a bed of roses. It's a dirty place, a cruel place, that doesn't care how tough you are. It will bring you to your knees and you'll stay on your knees forever if you let it." Carl laughed, a genuine, lively sound. "But we didn't let them, did we?" "No, partner," Stallone replied, placing a hand on his friend's shoulder. "We didn't let him." As the sun set over Los Angeles, casting a golden glow over the city, Stallone and Carl knew this was not just a story of personal redemption, but the beginning of something much bigger. They had turned their on-screen friendship into a force for good in the real world. "You know what, Sly?" Carl said, looking at the horizon. "I think I finally understand what you mean by it's not about how much you hit, it's about how much you can take being hit and keep moving forward." Stallone nodded, a twinkle in his eye. "That's it, champ. What about us? We're going to keep moving forward, no matter what." And so, as the stars began to dot the Los Angeles sky, two friends, two icons, two survivors, stood side by side, ready to face whatever challenge the future might bring. Because in the end, it wasn't just about Rocky and Apollo, or Stallone and Weathers. These were two men who proved that, with friendship, determination and courage, anyone can become the champion of their own life.